It is requested to kindly switch off your mobile phone, please. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning and Assalamu Alaikum. This is Sher Bano, Research Officer at Strategic Vision Institute, Islamabad. In an era where the dynamics of international relations are constantly evolving, understanding the strategic partnership between countries is crucial. The relationship between Pakistan and Russia has witnessed significant developments over the years, marked by diplomatic engagements, economic collaborations, and shared geopolitical interests. Together, we aim to gain a deeper understanding of the multifaceted dimension of Pakistan-Russia relations and their significance in ever-changing global order. Before we proceed further, I would like to mention that today's program would be divided into 3 working sessions. The discussion in each session will take place in the form of panel discussion. Following each session, there will be a dedicated question and answer session. Our session will be also live streamed on Zoom. For those who are attending via Zoom, kindly note that by default, mics of all the attendees will be on mute. Online participants are requested to kindly use Q&A option to type out their questions. Please do include your name as well as your organizational affiliation along with your questions. While we fully encourage you to participate, we request you to please be brief in your questions. The audience are also requested to avoid from commenting. And do not ask multiple questions, and we shall try our best to ensure that all the questions get answered within our allotted time. Without further delay, I would now introduce our distinguished panel for the first session. Our first session, titled Pakistan-Russia Relations in Transforming Global Order, would be moderated by Mr. Anton Khlopkov. Mr. Anton Khlopkov is Director of Center for Energy and Security Studies. Our first guest speaker for this session would be Mr. Fyodor Lukyanov. Mr. Fyodor Lukyanov is Research Director at International Valdai Discussion Club. He is Editor-in-Chief of Russia and Global Affairs magazine and is Chairman of Council on Foreign Affairs and Defense Policy. Our second guest speaker for today's session would be Ambassador Qazi Khalilullah. Ambassador Qazi Khalilullah is Executive Director of Center for International Strategic Studies, CISSS. He held various diplomatic assignments in Pakistan, missions abroad, including Pakistan Ambassador to Myanmar, Cuba, and Russian Federation. I would now hand over the session to Mr. Anton Khlopkov. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much. I would like to welcome all of the participants again. I am impressed with the timing of the conference, so I will try to stick to the agenda, and the good news that we are 5 minutes ahead of schedule. So I will have brief questions for the panelists, and after probably 3 or 4 questions from my side, we will open the floor to the audience, to those of you who have questions and comments. As it was already mentioned, please be brief so we have enough time to collect as many questions as possible. And for that particular session, my very first question is very simple and probably very complicated. So how you would categorize the current status of Russia-Pakistani relations? Fyodor, please.
Thank you very much, Anton. Thank you all for this fantastic event, and especially for the invitation to come, because that's my first time in Pakistan, and I must say this is enormous widening of my horizon, and I hope that this visit is just the first one, but for sure not the last one. I see, being here for 2 days now, I see a real interest, sincere interest on the side of Pakistan in the relationship with Russia. And answering your question, I think that there is a reciprocal approach on the Russian side. Having said that, of course, I need to mention that Russian Federation in general, not vis-à-vis Pakistan, but in general, at this particular point of history, is going through the extremely important transformation. The special military operation in Ukraine, which started last year, which had a lot of reasons and roots, of course, domestically, historically, geopolitically, but it turned a new mark in Russian positioning in the world. Of course, the main importance of what happened last year and what continues, and we unfortunately cannot say yet how long it will last, but certainly after a while we will arrive to the new status of Russian Federation in Eurasia, in the world, and that will be opening of a new era of relationship with basically everybody, and in this regard Pakistan is not an exception, of course. I think that Russia went through the extremely difficult process after the collapse of the Soviet Union, and that was process of self-evaluation and quest for the new proper place in the international arena, the place which would refer to the previous position of Soviet Union as a superpower, but of course will be completely different. That path, that way, was not easy, as we know. We went through different zigzags, and what is the main conclusion of what is happening now? We don't know the result yet, but I think this conclusion will stand whatever will happen in the foreseeable future. Russia has opened up to the much more inclusive foreign policy, because the Russian positioning until recently was very much Western-centric, America-centric, which will remain because the United States now and for quite a long time ahead of us will be the most important player in international affairs. But for Russia, it will be much bigger amount of very essential, important partners. And I think whatever will happen, even if we will find better common ground with the United States in the future, but Russian foreign policy will never be, as it was before, based on primarily prism of the United States and the West. And that means that countries, big, important Asian countries like Pakistan, will be much more in the focus of Russian foreign policy. And I believe that that will be a qualitative change of Russian positioning, which will open up much bigger opportunities for our bilateral relationship.
Thank you. Mr. Lukyanov, Ambassador Qazi, you served in Moscow as Pakistani ambassador. So how you see our bilateral relations being retired now?
Yes, of course. Dr. Naeem Salik, my Russian friends, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum and Zdravstvuyte to our Russian colleagues. Thank you very much for your question. I'm really glad to see you here in Pakistan, and I'm glad that you are also moderating this very important session. I was happy to participate in Moscow Non-Proliferation Conference, which you and your colleagues organized in December last year. It was a very well organized conference and also very well attended, I must say. I have very fond memories of my stay in Moscow. First, as a junior diplomat in the Embassy of Pakistan from 1988 to 1993, which is described as the most interesting period in the history of Russia. And then as ambassador of Pakistan to Russia from 2016 to early 2020. In other words, I had my first diplomatic assignment as well as the last diplomatic assignment in Moscow. This happens rarely in our service, but I had that distinction. Let me say that Moscow is one of the most beautiful capitals of the world. Russian people are very friendly and hospitable. Pakistan and Russia enjoy close, cooperative, and friendly relations. Both sides have worked closely to build a relationship that is respectful, trustworthy, and mutually beneficial. Pakistan regards Russia as a global power, and as a matter of Pakistan's foreign policy, of developing good relations with all global powers. As a matter of fact, with all countries, Pakistan wishes to forge a strategic partnership with Russia in due course. Pakistan-Russia relations have developed at their own pace. We do not make any demands on each other, and there's no do-more list in our relationship. This year, as has been pointed out, both sides celebrated 75th anniversary of diplomatic relations, which were established between Pakistan and the Soviet Union on 1st May 1948. Pakistan-Soviet relations developed gradually because of the Cold War realities. Even then, as has been pointed out by earlier speakers, we were able to cooperate on many projects such as Pakistan Steel Mill, power projects in Gudu, Muzaffargarh, and also establishment of oil and gas development of Pakistan. The end of the Cold War provided us an opportunity to develop our relations in a less polarized international environment. Here, let me recall something from my institutional memory, which is not known publicly. The Soviet Union formally disintegrated on 25 December 1991 when late Mikhail Gorbachev resigned. The very next day, we went to the Russian Foreign Office, and a very important message was given to us at the Russian Foreign Office. And that message was, Afghan war was Soviet war. Russia had nothing to do with that. Let's open a fresh chapter in our relations. Now that became the basis of development of Pakistan-Russia relations as they stand today. Since then, by working closely, Islamabad and Moscow have succeeded in enhancing relations in various fields, including at the diplomatic level, exchange of visits, parliamentary exchanges, defense cooperation, trade, energy, security cooperation, and this relationship is gaining further momentum. There are many global and regional issues that call for closer cooperation between Pakistan and Russia. These include terrorism, organized crime, drug trafficking, regional stability, connectivity, global power contestation, etc. Pakistan and Russia also enjoy close cooperation in multilateral organizations and come together in the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. However, there are areas in which Islamabad and Moscow need to do more work. The first is bilateral trade. Although it has enhanced over the last 2 years, but it remains under $1 billion. The other area is implementation of agreements signed on cooperation in the field of energy. I'm coming to the...
Please.
And I'm glad to note that high-level exchanges have become a regular feature of Pakistan Russia relations. In this regard, let me just mention two recent meetings. Number one, meeting between caretaker Prime Minister of Pakistan and Russian President in Beijing on 17th October on the sidelines of the Third Belt and Road Initiative, and meeting between Foreign Minister of Pakistan and Foreign Minister of Russia on the sidelines of UNGA session in September. During both these meetings, there was reiteration from both sides of intention to further enhance our cooperation in all fields. Now, let me conclude by saying that Pakistan and Russia have worked very closely, and especially during my stay in Moscow as ambassador, on promoting peace and stability in Afghanistan, particularly in the context of Moscow format of consultations on Afghanistan, which I believe was a brilliant idea and brainchild of Ambassador Zamir Kabulov, the special representative of Russian President on Afghanistan. By working closely, we were able to support the negotiations that took place between the United States and Taliban, which eventually led to an agreement. This format still remains very much relevant, and its last meeting was held in Kazan, capital of Tatarstan, 2 months ago. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Qazi, for your kind words about Russia and for your personal contribution to strengthen the Russia-Pakistan relations during your time, first in the Soviet Union and later in Russia, in Moscow, as ambassador. You already touched the areas where you believe our two countries can cooperate, and you also mentioned SCO. So I would like to ask probably two questions to both of you, and Mr. Lukyanov, I will start with you. What areas you would suggest to prioritize for future cooperation? Because as Ambassador Qazi mentioned, our trade, I think, unfortunately, is less than 1 billion. In 2021, it was about 700 million. The good news that it is growing, but I mean, if we will have a look on the size of our countries, our economies, of course, less than 1 billion, it's like nothing. So what areas of cooperation you would suggest prioritize? Some of them already been mentioned earlier today. And second, how you would see our cooperation in international organizations? And do you have any particular topic in mind on which we can strengthen our cooperation in international organizations? Please.
Yeah, thank you very much, and I would thank warmly Ambassador for this speech. The episode you remembered or reminded us, or told us about the message sent to you immediately after collapse of the Soviet Union, I think it's extremely interesting moment. But of course, we should understand that compared to what Russia thought that 30 plus years ago, today's stance is not exactly the same. I don't mean relationship with Pakistan. Of course, this part of the message is absolutely viable, and I think that the current leadership of Russia is very much eager to develop relationship. But as for not Afghan war in particular, but the Soviet legacy, the legacy of Soviet Union foreign policy, is now being considered in a more sophisticated way, I would say. Because the idea at that moment, obviously, as it was basically a revolution which happened, the idea was that we just reject everything which was during the Soviet time. It's not the case now. Now, of course, the view is, I would say, much more philosophical, that some things during the Soviet time were not okay, but some things were, so to say, continuation of Russian foreign policy tradition. And as for your question, first of all, if I may, I start with the second one. Looking at the title of our session about transforming global order, I think the question is, transformation is in place, no doubt about that. The question, and the global order is being transformed, the global order which we had before. The question is whether we are heading towards another global order or not. Because my personal assessment, and this is based on research we made at the Valdai Club and wrote about the several reports since 2017, was that actually what we are heading towards is not an order in the classical sense. Because the order, when we speak about order, we immediately remember, first of all, the second half of 20th century, the Cold War, the post-1945 arrangement, which was an order, of course, very stable one. The question is whether trends we see but something else, polar system with several poles. Frankly, I don't see in this current environment how this system can emerge based on the idea that it should be a balance. To have an order, you need a balance. But how to balance so many important players? All of them are playing certain roles in international affairs, but are completely different. The nature of those players is different. On the one hand, you have China, United States, Russia. On the other hand, you have, for example, Qatar, which is a tiny state, but it plays a role in international affairs. Not a regional role, but a global role. Of course, not comparable to the United States, but still, you cannot disregard it. Same with Turkey, same with many other countries. And in this situation, looking at all of this through the lenses of theory of international relations, frankly, I don't see yet how this can be balanced, what kind of new order we can achieve. From my point of view, that means that bilateral relationships between important countries will play a much bigger role in the future than before. And that brings us back to Russia-Pakistan, because Pakistan that's very ironic and pity that we have such an insignificant trade, but it does not reflect the role of Pakistan in the area, in international affairs, and the role the significance of Pakistan for Russia. And I think that just in this new environment, new opportunities will open up to develop very diversified relationship with everybody. And it's another important thing which characterizes the current and especially the future international constellation is that any system based on binding, block-minded relationships will not work. I think the aspirations of all nations, actually, except the West so far, is to have a diversified relationship and to use all opportunities which those relationships will open up. And in this regard, I think that Russia is very much eager to have cooperation with any important country. Pakistan is one of those. And altogether, in this very complicated and non-linear system, we need to develop ideas how to survive in this world, which by default will be very chaotic. Chaotic does not mean necessarily a very bad thing. You just need to accept it and then to find ways how to work. And in this regard, coming back, I'm sorry for this long expose to global horizon, but I think that in this regard, Russia and Pakistan, countries which went through pretty significant turbulences in the past, are better situated to find ways how to survive in this environment. As for the particular areas of cooperation, Mr. Ambassador mentioned economy, and I cannot agree more that we need to develop both energy relationship and find ways how to work on manufacturing cooperation. I understand that it's very long-term goal, but still, Russia is now looking for very new economic partnerships on all fronts. For obvious reasons, some of traditional partnerships have been broken and gone, maybe even forever. But what is, from my point of view, more important and extremely essential, this is how all of us, how we all together will be able to build a new Eurasia, both in terms of logistics, economic cooperation, and security. And in this regard, I think that Pakistan, as member of Shanghai Cooperation Organization, but also as just a very important country in South Asia, will have opportunity to contribute very much. And Russia is very interested to receive all ideas and all views from all partners. As I mentioned earlier, there is not a world of binding and exclusive partnerships. That's a world of inclusive cooperation, which means that even since we have a lot of troubled relationships in Eurasia, but in order to achieve common goals, we will need to overcome this, and that will serve all of us all together, regardless what we have between us sometimes.
Thank you, Mr. Lukyanov. Thank you further, Ambassador Qazi. So how you would see the possible areas for future cooperation between Russia and Pakistan, as well as international organizations in the world which was characterized by Mr. Lukyanov as chaotic world and as new Eurasia?
Well, thank you very much. Before I answer the two questions, let me recognize Ambassador, His Excellency Danila Ganich, Ambassador of the Russian Federation, who has joined us. And let me avail this opportunity to share with you that while I was ambassador in Moscow, His Excellency Danila Ganich was looking after Pakistan as Deputy to Ambassador Zamir Kabulov in the Second Asia Department. And I had his fullest cooperation, and together we were able to contribute to enhancing Pakistan-Russia relations. Ambassador Danila Ganich, thank you very much. Well, I agree with you that we are living in a chaotic world. We don't expect a balanced multipolar world. We are surely moving towards a multipolar world. The unipolar moment, which started with the end of Cold War in Moscow. When Gorbachev resigned, I was there, and I saw the Soviet flag coming down on the Kremlin and Russian flag going up. There were hopes that everyone will be able to benefit from the unipolar world, and that countries will have the opportunity to cooperate with each other according to their wishes. However, that did not happen. We had hoped that end of the Cold War, coming down of the Berlin Wall, dismantling of the Warsaw Pact would bring us to a kind of new. However, what we see today is that security concerns of other countries are not addressed. What we see in Ukraine, as I understand it, is it's a conflict between unipolarity and multipolarity. All kinds of means are being used to maintain preponderance of the Western world. Multipolarity is not accepted, and there are proxy wars. There are different kinds of methods are being used to strangulate countries or adversaries through sanctions and other means. What we also hear is that there is so-called rules-based order in the world, and we see that these rules are applied selectively. They are not applied to Western allies such as Israel and India. Both the countries have been brutalizing people under their occupation, in territories under their occupation for many decades now, with impunity. We therefore need to cooperate closely, particularly Pakistan and Russia, as well as other countries within the framework of Eurasian space to protect our interests. Now, coming to the issue of, or the question of cooperation between Russia and Pakistan in international organizations and how to enhance it. Let me say that we have been cooperating very closely in multilateral fora on many issues of interest to us in the UN, in Conference on Disarmament, and many other forums. Let me mention here two good examples of our cooperation in the UN. Number one, Pakistan, as has already been mentioned, has abstained on all resolutions in the UN General Assembly on Ukraine crisis. This is number one. Number two, in August 2019, a Security Council meeting was called to discuss the situation created by Indian revocation of the special status of occupied Jammu and Kashmir and its inclusion in Indian Union territory as Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh, that is two separate territories. Despite Indian requests, and these requests were made repeatedly, Russia did not block the Security Council meeting requested by Pakistan and China. Russia also did not block second meeting on the same issue that was held in January 2020. Keeping the developments that are taking place in the context of global power contestation and about which you have spoken and I have also mentioned, I feel that that a Eurasian think tank network could be established to exchange ideas for strengthening cooperation to deal with common regional, global, political, economic, and security challenges. Agreed, that is, we all could come together and also include think tanks of like-minded countries such as Central Asian states, Turkey, GCC countries, if they are willing to cooperate with us, Iran, and any other country that wishes to contribute positively. We could come together and we could discuss the developments, formulate our recommendations, and share it with our governments for consideration. Let me conclude this part of answer that Kashmir and Palestine are the oldest items, unresolved items on the UN agenda. There can be no peace in South Asia until and unless Kashmir dispute is resolved in accordance with the UN Security Council resolutions. And there will be no peace in the Middle East unless the two-state solution is implemented there in accordance with relevant resolutions. Now, let me come to the second question that you raised about what can be done to enhance Pakistan-Russia cooperation, economic cooperation in future, or what are the prospective areas for our cooperation. Let me say that Russia has excelled in many areas. One is space. Russia is a recognized country when it comes to space technology. I need not explain this. The other is cybersecurity. These are excellent areas for our cooperation. Future wars are going to be fought in cyberspace. Number two, I want to talk about the energy and its infrastructure. We all know, and we have talked about it, some have mentioned, that in 2015, Pakistan and Russia signed an agreement on north-south gas pipeline that was later renamed as Pakistan Stream pipeline, and it would run from Karachi to Lahore, covering a distance of 1,100 kilometers. Both sides remain engaged on this, but so far nothing has happened on ground. We signed MOU for import of Russian LNG in 2017. Both sides remain engaged on the implementation of this MOU, but Russia has prior commitments, but Russia is open to exporting LNG to Pakistan. We also signed in 2019 a MOU on feasibility study of an undersea pipeline from Persian Gulf to Arabian Sea, that is to Pakistani ports, but this again has remained unimplemented. So we need to implement the agreements that we have, as I mentioned earlier. Both Pakistan and Russia also have the opportunity to cooperate on energy projects that have been there for a long time. For example, Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, India gas pipeline that would run from Turkmenistan through Afghanistan to Pakistan and go on to India. It's 1,800 kilometer long pipeline with investment of about $10 billion. I was the first Pakistani diplomat to go from Moscow to Ashgabat in 1992 to talk about this pipeline, have initial talks, and because of situation in Afghanistan, this pipeline could not be built. But now both sides, rather all sides, are actively pursuing this. We also have a project called CASA 1000, Central Asia, South Asia, electricity transmission project from Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan to Pakistan via Afghanistan. Now, coming to the last point, I have spoken, I've maybe taken a lot of time, but I think this is important. Formation of interim government in Afghanistan after the chaotic withdrawal of foreign forces from there in 2021 has given us opportunities, that is to Russia, Central Asia, Pakistan, to trade to Afghanistan. Recently, a few trucks from Kazakhstan and Russia made their first ever trips to Pakistan via Afghanistan. Russian LPG has been transported from Uzbekistan via Afghanistan to Pakistan, and Pakistan and Uzbekistan have signed MOU to build a train link connecting the two countries via Afghanistan. All these projects have opportunities for Russia to participate. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador, and thank you for sharing sharing your view on number of areas where our two countries could strengthen their cooperation. I already received a yellow card from our host that it's time to move from presentations to Q&A session, but it's very difficult to interrupt such a distinguished speakers. I will try to stick to the agenda, and I think we have about 20 minutes for even less for Q&A. So please raise your hand if you would like to have a floor. When you have a mic, please introduce yourself briefly, and please be brief when you ask question. And I would like to welcome again in this conference room the Ambassador of the Russian Federation, Danila Ganich. Your Excellency, thank you so much for joining us today. We know how busy you are. We know that you are going to leave this wonderful series soon, so it's an extraordinary honor for us to have you with us. And please let us know if you would like to have a floor during this or other sessions for any remarks. So I would suggest to start from that side. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, the conference is very well arranged. First of all, I think it's great to be here. I'm Javera Kulsum Atif, and I'm affiliated with Islamabad Policy Research Institute. My question is to Mr. Fyodor Lukyanov. On what grounds will Russia pursue recognition of Afghanistan? And where is Pakistan, Russia on this matter with the regional countries? And along with that, if you allow me, how does Russia perceive the global order, especially with its realignment and strategic partnership with China, vis-a-vis the US-China global competition, perhaps also in the context of where we see civilizational states versus the nation-state concept? Thank you so much.
What I would suggest to collect at least 3 questions, then return to the speakers, and I hope that some of the questions will also facilitate discussion during coffee breaks, lunches, and other related events. So the question from the first row, then, please, and then we will return it.
Good morning, everyone. It is a pleasure to see you all here, especially Mr. Fyodor from the Valdai Club. We have been meeting there in Russia, and the Russian ambassador and everyone. And I think it's a very, very well-organized conference and very important topic. I want to suggest or maybe comment. You want to answer, please do. I think relationship between Pakistan and Russia can improve further, as you people have identified, with more connectivity, more trade, more economic cooperation in the Eurasian landmass. But more important thing would be a resolution of the conflicts which the ambassador highlighted. I think if the conflicts within the South Asia are resolved and Afghanistan is peaceful, then this dream will come true. And can Russia and other greater powers play a role in becoming a bridge between Pakistan, India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and so on? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. One more question from the gentleman over there, and then we will return to the speakers, and we will have another round of questions.
My name is Mohammad Sarmadzia. I'm a senior research fellow at the Army Institute of Military History. My question is, basically, we have a lot of potential between Pakistan and Russia to develop our relationship and take it to further heights. But I believe there are several impediments, both from Pakistani and the Russian side. So I would like for you to comment, and perhaps if the Russian ambassador, His Excellency, would like to make a comment about that as well. What exactly are the impediments from the Russian side? We'd really like to know about them, and perhaps look for developing an actual relationship rather than just talk about potential. Thank you.
Can you repeat just your question for ambassador, for the Russian ambassador, before we...
Yes, for the ambassador, for Excellency, my question is, if you could possibly identify what are the real impediments keeping us from developing a mature and a relationship which has more of a substance rather than just you know, the talking or the conversation about potential. Thank you.
I suggest to return to the panel first, and then you'll be finished, and then we will give the floor to you. Mr. Lukyanov.
Afghanistan, by the way, I wanted just to add to what Mr. Ambassador said, and this is also to your last question about conflict resolutions. I think that this is absolutely vitally important to understand that this new stage of international development, unfortunately, means that all conflicts we inherited from the past, they will not remain frozen. We see it already everywhere, starting from Southern Caucasus, Ukraine, Palestine, and I hope I'm wrong, but I'm afraid that Palestine is by far not the last conflict which will explode again, and we will not be able to contain it, unfortunately, because in this turbulence, that will be like this. The question about bridges, you know, I think it's a dialectical, because frankly, I don't see in the current conflicts that there is a demand for bridges. Outside forces like Russia, like China, like United States, of course, they need to create better conditions, environment for countries involved, parts involved, to find ways how to reconcile. But frankly, I don't believe in the ability of any country from the outside to come in and to solve the question. It's a different era, and that's about much more about self-confidence of countries involved. Of course, the outside world should help them to find a common ground, but it's not up to outside forces. As for Afghanistan, that's another conflict which lasts for a very long time. I think that the Russian position is very clear. The Afghan government, whatever we think about certain moves by them, Afghan government should be given opportunity to stabilize the country and to find ways to develop the country. Because without development of Afghanistan, we will not be able to solve any of conflicts there. And as I understand, we don't necessarily have absolutely same views as Pakistan on Afghanistan, but those views are not contradicting, they are complementary. The question about civilizations, you know, we would need probably two more hours to discuss it. Just one observation, the idea of civilizational state, which was put in the doctrine of Russian foreign policy, and then Putin elaborated on that very detailed in his Valdai speech. I think this is first of all about what I just said. Each country, each big country, seeks ways how to find self-confidence and self-sufficiency, because this is the most important thing in the turbulent world. How to survive, how to increase its own resilience. And we might have a very long philosophical discussion what civilization means, but in practical terms, this is an ability to survive any turbulences. And I think Russian approach is to build up such state, such resilient state, which is not isolated from others, but first of all is oriented towards its own interests. And about obstacles, Mr. Ambassador will say it much more qualified, but I think that the main obstacle is just what I said, the turbulence, which is extremely overwhelming. And of course, we need to find all possible ways to develop our economic cooperation, but we need to acknowledge that some outside forces create all hurdles and all barriers for that, and they will do it in the future as well.
Ambassador Qazi, would you like to add?
Yes, with regard to the resolution of conflicts, why they are important, let me point out a couple of things in that regard. You would all recall that on 26 February 2019, India attacked Balakot, a territory inside Pakistan. The very next day, Pakistan, through its Operation Swift Retort, responded, shot down Indian intruding aircraft and captured its pilot. That set alarm bells all around the world, including in Moscow, because both countries are nuclear weapon states and there was a danger of escalation. I recall that Russian Foreign Minister, His Excellency Sergei Lavrov, immediately offered Russian territory for talks between India and Pakistan in order to de-escalate the situation. Pakistan accepted that offer, but India did not. Then Modi, Prime Minister Modi threatened that there will be a Qatl ki Raat, that means a night of massacre for Pakistan. And we learned that they were planning to hit 6 targets in Pakistan. Through our common friends, we conveyed to India that for every target they hit in Pakistan, we will hit 3 in India. So that helped in de-escalating the situation. I recall that when the captured Indian pilot, Wing Commander Abhinandan, was being handed over to Indian side at Wagah border, all Russian channels stopped their normal transmission and started showing that ceremony. So that means that they also appreciated that gesture and they realized that it was important for de-escalation. Now, we saw what happened on 7th October in Israel, and that was the result of the frustration that had developed over decades because of Israeli repression. Now let me take you to June this year, when Prime Minister Modi was being given red carpet in Washington, D.C. On the one hand, he was being given red carpet treatment by President Biden, and on the same day, former US President Barack Obama appeared in a CNN interview with Christiana Amanpour, and he said something that even we didn't expect. He said that given the scale of repression of minorities in India, particularly Muslims, there is a danger that if India does not take corrective steps, at some point India could begin to pull apart. That is, India could begin to disintegrate because of that. Now, India is a country of 1.4 billion people. It's a nuclear weapon state. I need not explain what would happen if that, if what President Obama said comes to be true. So, resolution of conflicts is very important. And Kashmir is a nuclear flashpoint between Pakistan and India, and Russia as a permanent member of the Security Council, a country, one of the countries responsible for maintaining international peace and security, I think has a role to play here. Thank you.
Thank you. We have about 10 minutes before concluding the session. But before, I will collect probably 2 more questions. I also have 2 questions from those who join us online. I would like to give the floor to His Excellency Ambassador Ganish to respond to the question which was posed to him. May we have a mic to Ambassador Ganish?
I will be as concise as possible. So thank you very much, Ambassador Qazi, for your kind words, but I would like to say that we have learned a lot from you. And I think 2 features. One is persistence and the other is patience, because we all know how difficult it is to work in Moscow because we have the same bureaucracy as you do. As for the prospects for our relations, I think they will improve in the years to come. A number of reasons that allow me to predict this. Pakistan is a traditional country. Society here is traditional. The Pakistanis have preserved critical thinking, and even if they don't have access to a number of objective media, they at least ask the right questions. And another thing is that we have a consensus both in Russia and Pakistan. No matter who is in power in Pakistan, each party is in favor of partnership with Russia. And the last remark, what is the main obstacle, I think? The main obstacle is neocolonialism. This is a systemic problem. And specifically, I would like to stress our dependence on the dollar. Because we may have a number of good projects and we may have interest in them. But if Uncle Sam says he doesn't want it, so our government has already broken basically ties with the US, but not Islamabad. So it's a matter of political decision. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Ambassador. I think we collected a few questions from left side. I suggest to collect 2 questions from the right side, and I will also read 2 questions from those who join online. One question from here, and then from the gentleman.
Thank you very much. My name is Imtiaz Ahmed. I'm a former Director General, Pakistan Atomic Energy Commission. This conference is about transforming global order. There's another, besides the political order, there's another global order that's changing, and that is the global climate change. And in that order, which Pakistan is suffering for some time, nuclear has a role to play, nuclear energy, I mean. And Russia is a big player in the area of nuclear. It is supplying power plants all over the world. Do you see any prospect of cooperation between Pakistan and Russia in the area of nuclear power and nuclear, of course, technology for other uses?
Thank you, sir. On that particular question, we will have a very special session next, right after the break, and I personally will be pleased to answer if any of the panelists would like to react quickly on this particular question. We will have time. And the final question from over there. No, but let's collect one more question, and then I will read 2 other questions from those who join online. Okay. Please.
Thank you so much. I'm Khurram Abbas. I'm part of Institute of Strategic Studies, Islamabad. My question is to my Russian friend about, Russia has 2 strategic partners in this region, China and India. So, and of course, these 2 countries are at odds with each other. And if in future there is a conflict between the 2 countries, how would Russia respond to that? And my second question to the Ambassador Qazi about the, you mentioned about the MOU and the Pakistan stream back in 2015. So what are the challenges that this project could not go along?
Thank you. We also have questions from those who join online. I will read 2 of them quickly. Question from Fazal Razik, student of international relations. The question is, how energy and defense cooperation contribute to the overall bilateral relationship between Pakistan and Russia? And the second question came from Javad Ali Shah, research officer from the Center for International Strategic Studies in Karachi. And the question is, what is Russia's position on the US Indo-Pacific strategy and Quad? Does Russia have a strategy to counter their objectives? Probably, Mr. Lukyanov, this is the question to you. I suggest, Ambassador Qazi, to start with you, if you have reaction to any questions which were posed during the last round of questions. And after that, we will return to Mr. Lukyanov. Colleagues, please be brief, because otherwise I will be given a red card as a chair. We have just 4 minutes left.
Starting with cooperation between Russia and Pakistan on the nuclear energy, Russia is a member of the NSG, and therefore there can be cooperation in non-energy sectors, and that we are pursuing. There's discrimination in this regard. You know, India was given 123 agreement by the US in 2005, and then it was followed by energy waiver in 2008. So India gets everything it wants: nuclear material, nuclear technology. All doors are closed to Pakistan except China for peaceful uses. Coming to the pipeline, Pakistan Stream now. Sanctions played a role in that. That was a barrier. Initially, the entity that Russia proposed for this project was under sanctions. We lost time because of that. Then there were some political changes in Pakistan, and but the good thing about this is that this project is still alive, and both sides continue to explore ways to expedite it. We hope that the commercial agreement would be signed soon, so that this project could take off. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, energy defense, of course, that's extremely important, the bond for cooperation, but of course we understand that both energy and defense, they are very much strategic areas, and those relationships should be very well prepared politically. I hope, and I'm sure that Russia and Pakistan will work on that. Conflict between India and China, I think that will be a nightmare for everybody, not just Russia, but everybody in the region, everywhere. Of course, from my point of view, very unlikely case it happens, Russia will do everything to become a bridge, to become a mediator, to become whatever to stop it, because that will have an impact on the whole world. But frankly, I don't believe, whatever India and China think about each other now, I don't think they are any way close to direct collision. They understand very well the consequences. In the Pacific, Russian official position is not in favor of this concept, not at all. I don't believe that Russia will be an active player in this region to build a counter strategy, but of course Russia supports those, China and others, who believe that any militarization of and securitization of relationship in this region will undermine all the rest, including economy and trade. And my final point, what Mr. Ambassador said, he mentioned Uncle Sam. I think that given the specificity of the current President of the United States, we should rename it to Grand Uncle Sam.
Colleagues, perfect timing, very rich session. So please join me to thank our panelists. This is not the end of the discussion of those questions. I'm sure there will be further discussion during coffee breaks and lunches, but I would like to mention that the next coffee break is very short, just 10 minutes. So please be back not later than in 10 minutes. And thank you for being so active.
Thank you very much for conducting this session in an excellent manner. Thank you.
With this, we come to end of our first session. Thank you all the speakers and participants for the valuable insight. Now I would like to invite Dr. Naeem Ahmed Saleh, EDSVI, to present souvenirs to the speakers. I would first invite Mr. Anton Khlopkov to receive his souvenir, please. I would now request Mr. Fyodor Lukyanov to receive this. I would now request Mr. Fyodor Lukyanov to receive his souvenir, please. I would now request Ambassador Qazi Khalilullah to receive his souvenir. It is requested to all the participants to please remain settled as we commence our second session in a short while.